session at 9:58 p.m. No final action, decision, or vote was taken while the board was in closed session. We will now reconvene the open meeting. We're going to go ahead to 6A, Superintendent Report, Construction Update. Dr. Montoya?
And again, members of the board, we're proceeding with the previous bond, finishing up some activities. At the same time, based on the bond that was approved, we are also building and fixing and remodeling and doing things. And I know that Mr. Fields, I don't know if you want to say something briefly here on that bond piece.
No, sir, only if there's any questions. We are going to bring to the board next month our proposal. We sat down with Dr. Montoya and with Mr. Elizondo, and we'll be recommending to complete Prop 3, the one that was unsuccessful in the last.
And again, members of the board, I will bring specific information on the new bond proposal for May and to call for a bond election so we can finish phase 2 of Veterans Memorial.
Yes, sir.
Because that still needs to occur, and so you'll be receiving information there. Also, you received a request of the legal firms. I think all of you got a sheet somewhere, so there should be information on that that updates you as to what legal firms we have and what the status is and what areas, and that's it.
Mr. Shaw?
Thank you. Dr. Montoya, so what you're saying is that you are, in the month of February, we are going to officially declare and announce to the public?
Correct, and that's within the legal process to do that. That's why we have to do it at that time. That's correct.
Thank you.
I just got a question from Mr. Fields.
Yes, sir.
How are you doing on fixing the roofs? We had another rain, roofs are leaking yet.
We're working with the insurance company to get the roofs completed.
But we're getting all this water inside the school.
And if there's water that's leaking inside the schools, then we're notified, and we've done emergency patches of those roofs. But we have to work through the insurance companies to get them replaced.
How long is that gonna take? 'Cause every time it rains, they beat the roofs and then it comes water. Our building had water again the other day. And we had 3 days of rain.
I'll look into it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Macias?
Yeah, to echo the same thing that I'm hearing that's happening at Converse Elementary as well as Elof. The roofing, or re-roofing is just taking a little bit too long. And so if you could, I guess, provide an updated schedule of when the project should be completed or even initiated would be helpful. I don't know if you're doing parts of it in phases or whatnot. I think I heard at Elof that there was portions of it that are being done, but
That was the emergency
Okay.
coming in with the 40,000 to insure.
has the insurance already said we'll pay?
Yes, sir.
They have, okay. And then, Dr. Montoya, I had a question for Dr. Fields specifically
Okay, go
about
ahead.
the parking lot area. I know you provided a list of how the bond projects were going to be listed, and in our proposition, we did have the parking lot to be
Rutland
redone.
Stadium.
When is that scheduled?
We haven't scheduled it yet. The priority when we first went through the 2016 bond was to get the big projects underway. So the first 2 were the 2 elementary schools, and then the middle schools of Kirby and Kitty Hawk. And then the second at $4 million apiece were the kitchen renovations. And then now we're to the point where we can start sitting back and then going towards some of the lesser projects, but we're going to shotgun those out as opposed to one by one.
Well, and the reason why I mentioned that, Dr. Montoya, Dr. Fields, is from a PR standpoint, from the community. They're still driving over those potholes, and they're still complaining what's going on, and so that seems to be more of a headache right now because we're not doing anything to address that, at least the community hasn't seen. So I know it's on the list, but just consider perhaps speeding that timeline up a little bit so that by the summer or by next football season, I mean,
Yeah.
we're good, because I'm getting calls still about, hey, and I have to remind them, it's passed, we're gonna get it fixed.
I
Yes, sir.
think, Mr. Fields, we can look at the deadlines, timelines, and maybe that's one we move up.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Pashal?
Thank you. Dr. Montoya, I would like to go back to when you were giving your superintendent report. I'm sorry, I didn't mention this before. I read in the newspaper in the Herald, and then I saw on the news link that we receive all the time, that there was a group of people that came to Judson High School to speak and talk about their experiences, the Freedom Riders.
That's correct.
Did we get an email about their coming
I think it did go out.
before they came? Was that on the calendar? It was?
Yeah, it was
I
sent
saw it on the
out.
calendar.
Now, that
Okay.
day, some of us were in the city council with the mayor receiving an award as a board. Otherwise, that's why some of us were not at that
Okay.
event.
Okay,
Because it was
okay.
exactly at the same time.
Okay, all right, I wanted to make sure,
Yeah.
because I'm really sorry I missed
Yeah.
that. You know,
But
as
it's a
the
good.
only African-American on this board, I would have been there.
But it's a good event and ceremony, yes.
Anything else, Dr. Montoya?
No, that's it.
Okay, 6B, prevention and intervention practices within the district.
That's Mr. Macias.
Okay, Mr.
Yes.
Macias.
Well, thank you. Just real briefly, I had shared with Dr. Montoya a link that I received from Dr. Salinas regarding metrics of at-risk kids, and wanted to just kind of get some feedback from you, Dr. Montoya, or whomever you designated, on what your thoughts were, if we were using any of those type of metrics now, or just some insight on that.
I think, Mr. Gonzalez, I know that we're talking to the company, literally the company people, to get specifics. So as to how it operates, its effectiveness, also what districts are using it, and what's the cost. But I don't know, Mr. Gonzalez, if you want to briefly share some further than that.
Just that, good evening, just that we are investigating what different protocols they are using and how that would impact our district. We also are looking at the funding sources and the cost that would, how that cost would impact our district as well.
Very well. I'm excited about the way to manage. We're not currently measuring, or how are we kind of looking at?
Dr. Cantu has some presentation that she could give with regard to those slides through our counseling department as well.
Good evening, board members. Yes, one of the things that I have, we have some handouts, and I'm going to ask Betty to go ahead and distribute those. One of the first handout that you're going to see is some information regarding the Texas Comprehensive Guidance Model, and there's some very specific guidelines in the areas of service that we need to provide to our students. And so when you look at the breakdown, and if you will pull this page out, I'll give Betty a few minutes, but this page, I'll put it up on the screen for our audience. I do understand that it's a little small, but what I'd like to do is just give you a quick overview of the Texas Comprehensive School Counseling Program Model. And if you notice, this is designed by the state of Texas. It's based on the Texas Education Code. It's based on legislative requirements, state and local policy. That center circle tells you the guidelines that we must adhere to. The concentric circles that you see on the side, the red, the blue, the purple, and the green, those are the areas that we must provide services for students. So it is a comprehensive plan. You will see also the recommended by the state, the percentage of time that we should spend in those areas. If you notice on the top left-hand corner, you will see a table. And in that table, you see the different components, the guidance curriculum, making sure we're providing responsive services to our students, making sure we're doing individualized planning, making sure that we provide system support, and then other non-guidance duties. You will see that there's a breakdown of the elementary, middle, and high school, and the suggested allocation of time. So the state is very clear on what they expect about in our guidance and counseling program. But what I'd like to do is share with you what, now you've seen the state model, just share with you the direct support and interventions that we do, because we are very conscientious about making sure that we provide social, emotional, and academic development for all our students. We obviously work on being a preventive mode for our students. One of the handouts that, thank you, Betty. One of the handouts that Ms. Holmes distributed is a memo that is dated September the 9th, and you will see that there's 12 programs outlined. I'm not going to go through each program. I think you can read those on your own. But what I'd like to highlight is that these are programs that we have in the district right now where we can provide comprehensive services to align to the state requirement. And there's that it talks about the anti-bullying, suicide prevention. And so some of these programs, you'll see that they're, not only do we provide them for students, to support our students, but also our teachers. So there's 12 there. I'm not going to, as I said, I'm not going to read those to you, but you can read them. And what I want, the purpose of this memo is to provide a quick overview that we have several programs in place to address the needs of our students. The second handout that you have is a memo dated November the 14th, and that has to do with the anti-bullying and student support strategies. And what we, your question, Mr. Macias, is a good question. You asked about how do we track, or do we track the services that we provide. And that memo, the second page, which has two tables, and again, that memo is from Mr. Cox, dated November the 14th. The second page has a breakdown of all the services that we provided in our district to our students based on that Texas expectation. So for example, this data is based from the 14-15 school year and then the 15-16. So on the top portion, you see that there was classroom guidance sessions conducted, over 5,103 sessions. And again, I'm not going to read each of those sessions and the different things that we do in the department, but the intent of this information is to show you that not only are we aligning to the state model, but we also have a comprehensive program. We understand that one size does not fit all. You know, it depends on the needs of the student. We don't use all these programs for all students. We adapt the programs, but they're available for our students. The intent of the resources is to help identify, target the specific student needs. The quantitative data that you see there, the number of sessions that are that have been conducted, small group, individually, activities with students, there's a very specific countdown on the number of services that are there. So as you can see that, do we have a comprehensive program? We do. We're following the model that the state has. And in addition to that, I've outlined the program so that you're informed that we have numerous programs for different things in our district. And then I've also given you the quantitative data to show of the work that we're doing in our campuses. So I'd be happy to entertain any questions at this time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's a nice presentation, and again, thank you for putting time to put that together. Mr. Gonzalez and Mr. Cox had reiterated some of this information and communicated it. There was a District 4 conversation a couple of weeks ago regarding this this issue on preventative and intervention strategies, and I guess the premise behind putting this on the agenda and continuing to discuss this matter is to put a plan that would touch all 24,000 of our students in a one general manner where there's an awareness aspect, because intervention is great when you see a student that's at risk, but what of those students that are not showing at-risk indicators but that may be subject to things in the future? We can't say honestly that we have a comprehensive intervention step at this point to address all of our students, all 24,000 of them. And so that's sort of where I'm trying to get. One of the things I'll say that Mr. Gonzalez kept mentioning is that the tools are there for each of our institutions to use, but they don't use them. Not all of them. They can choose to use them, choose not to use them. So we're lacking uniformity in terms of implementing a standard. And I would like to pick that standard up so that we have a much more aggressive intervention plan to address social issues for our kids. So this is fantastic because this is quantitative stuff. I can't say this enough. I know we're working. I know we're doing the work to identify, but I do feel that we need to take some bigger steps because we are seeing issues to student achievement that are based on at-risk factors, and we need to kind of get ahead of that. So anyway, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I have questions on your data.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to verify.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it doesn't look like we're comparing the same things, but I'm guessing you might have grouped some things together. On 2015-16, you have post-secondary development activities for 795.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a combination of college development activities and career development activities and guidance sessions, or what is that a combination of from 14-15?
It is a combination of some of the college development we combined and
The college
extended
and
the
career, or
lessons.
just the college?
College and career, both, ma'am.
Okay, both of those. And then also, for individual counseling sessions facilitated, is there an error on the 14-15? It says we only did 2,000, but this year we're already at 22,000.
That's a very good observation, and I'll tell you that when I looked at this data, I was focusing on the 15-16, on the increase, and I was very pleased to see that there was more of the individual counseling. I can verify that data for you and get that to Dr. Montoya's
Sure,
office.
or if we can have, comparative data, so we're comparing not different categories.
Yes.
And the last one is about meetings facilitated. On 15-16, it states 1896, but then it's not anywhere on 14-15. Is that parent workshops and staff presentations?
This has to do with training specifically for counselors to address programs so that they can be able to turnkey that at the campus level. So that's what that is. And I'll tell you that some of the discrepancies that you see regarding the services that are provided, one of the things that I'm working with Mr. Cox is how do we, in a comprehensive format, instead of doing little silos, how do we combine some of these programs? So definitely, but I think we can put a side by side for you to see that there is some embedding in here, just so that you can see that.
Right, and I know the counselors track that. At least
Yes,
when I was
ma'am.
at Kirby, they were tracking it daily. So yeah, if we could just have the same
Yes, ma'am.
data, so we know what we're looking at, to see if there's truly an increase, or if we're combining areas.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Pashal?
I don't think I heard the answer to the question. She asked about the meetings that were facilitated in 15-16, and it's not documented for 14-15.
If you notice on the 14-15, that we have staff presentations and workshops, and then we have meetings facilitated. So what you have is you have some combining of some of the meetings. What the meetings that are facilitated, that means that those are trainings for counselors and for
Okay, so you're
staff.
saying those are trainings.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why we need it the same, so we can see.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Okay. Moving on. Update on board advisory committees? Does anyone have any updates? Ms. Pashal?
Advisory committees, that's not the same as,
No, agenda item.
okay.
No?
Withdraw.
Okay, no problem. How about 6D, update on board trainings, conferences, events, and consider future agenda item requests by board members?
Now,
Go ahead, Ms. Pashal.
yeah, I just want to say that I was in Austin this past weekend for a one-day workshop on board officers. It concentrated on board presidency, but it was about all board offices, and it was pretty good.
Mr. Flores?
On the request for Dr. Montoya to, get an RFQ for the scope of the independent audit. Well, yeah, for the independent audit of HR. And I know that your staff, I'm gonna talk to Mr. Lozoda. Okay, I know that your staff will, you're looking for the scope of work, but you have an idea as to what we want. I think you need to tell us, is this what you want? And because otherwise, we can beat this for another month and a half or something. And then as we see what your thoughts are, then we can add our thoughts to it. And I just think that would work out better.
We'll prepare something preliminary by next Friday and send it out, and then maybe.
Sounds great.
That's what y'all think.
All right, thank you. That's it.
Anyone else? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Salinas, did you?
Are we ready to, oh, you still with the committee?
Yeah, no, I'm on the future agenda items.
Oh,
I'm on
yes.
6D.
60.
Do you-
I'd like to put an agenda item for a policy change concerning the Hall of Honor, that it be given directly to the committee that has been appointed,
Mhm.
and that they've done a tremendous job. I've been here 8 years, we've never disagreed with the committee. So I'd like for us just to do a policy change. I guess you'll have to go through legal or whatever to change it, and bring it as a first reading. It'll be a first reading, because it's gonna be a policy change, if that's okay with the rest of the board. That's my feeling, okay? I believe that's the only one. Thank you.
I'd like to have an agenda item. I received a document from TEA. It was addressed to Mr. Salyer about the final report on the 2013-14 limited scope student attendance review. Apparently, the TEA Financial Compliance Division reviewed a corrective action plan that we had submitted as a district. I didn't know anything about it. I have not asked every board member here if they know what it was about. It was 2013-14 attendance data. So, Dr. Montoya, if we could get just an informational item on what happened.
Status of-
Yes, and also if we have any TEA investigations going on now, we'd like to know that also. Just so we can be transparent and we don't get it at the end. The good thing is there's no further action required and the final report of the attendance review was followed, so we're good. But at the same time, I didn't know we were under review from
I
the,
think Ms. Holmes, if you'll write those as notes so that we make sure we follow up on that.
anyone else? This one. Yeah, we're going to go back to 5A. Consider and take possible action regarding approving the personnel report and updates, including new hires, resignation, and administrative appointments.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. We have to do this one too? No?
No, let me make a-
Oh, go ahead.
Again, congratulations to our 3 new directors. I'd like to introduce them. Marisa Perez Diaz, who will be Director of Governmental Community, and Judson Education Foundation Relations. If you'll stand up.
Congratulations.
And we have Mr. James McQuaid will be our new Purchasing Director, if he'll stand up. And Mr. L.C. Malone will be our Director of Network Services. So welcome. We're going to have a good team here. Thank you.
Anyone else? We're good? Okay, we're going to adjourn the meeting at 10:21.
Thank you.